Welcome to this year's first episode of Tompkins Talk. My name is Archie. I'm your host, and I'm here with
Gaby Carpio.
Mr. McManus.
Johan, Carreon.
You were the stage manager for Wonderboy.
Yes.
You're just theater director in Terra, and you were the main character. What was your main character's name again?
Sunny.
Sunny. I have my co-host, Ethan, and technical difficulties. Sorry about that. All right, so Wonderboy week after last week's was Saturday was your closing night, right?
That's right. That's right.
Heard a crazy story about something that happened on closing night. You wanna?
Closing nights always go crazy.
Yeah.
So there was some ad lib by a student in the performance that added some lines in that we had not planned for. So we try to avoid that typically, but it happened.
Yeah, and I heard the stage might have broken.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That also. So there were a couple different calamity issues.
Yeah, that always happens, as I assume, in most theater performances. That's the word.
Live keeps it entertaining. That's for sure.
That's true. Now, live keeps entertaining. Is there anything you wish you could have done more during live, or is there things like you couldn't do?
No, I think we pulled off everything that we wanted to bring to the table as far as the technical elements were concerned and the performance aspects as well. Having a live chainsaw was pretty awesome.
Oh,
It's like, check that one off the bucket list.
that's awesome. Anything you wish you two could have added? Because I know you're the main character, stage manager. Anything you could have added? Wish you guys could have added?
I don't think there was anything that we could have changed performance-wise, because I think everybody found out their character arcs and all those things really well and presented it to the stage really well. Yes.
I think something I wish maybe a little bit more, but overall, like, the show was so cool, was all the lighting and, like, the tech elements we had throughout the show. Like, all the lights looked so sick on stage when, like, you go inside the mind of Sunny during, like, the moments he's, like, talking normally, or, like, all those moments. The lights go crazy, and, like, light crew did amazing. And we had, like, fog, and there was one night we couldn't use the fog machine because there was, like, a tech thing. And I remember that, like, literally it's just fog, and that, like, having fog really changed the story and the way the audience sees it. So I think to take care of the fog, so we always have it. 'Cause
So fog was a big important. So you're saying this could be one of your favorite, maybe like top 5 plays that ever performed currently?
Honestly, like, tech-wise, yes. Like, it was just so cool. Like, watching all the elements and the music we had was so cool. And, like, the whole story itself is, like, very comic booky and, like, superhero. So it's just fun to watch for anyone. It's super entertaining.
Do you have any input on that, Johan?
It was really fun trying to learn how to, like, make, like, a realistic stutter, because that's, like, the character's thing is that he has a stutter, and it was really fun to learn how to do it and then make sure it was realistic to get to people.
Could
So
you
they understand the lesson?
Could you give us like an example, maybe one of the lines real quick?
Oh.
Yeah, go for it. You did great.
Here we go. So yeah, that's one of my lines. I don't know. I don't know.
But there's
sounded
a lot.
really realistic.
There's a lot that went into that.
Yeah, it was like a lot of research, and some of my family members. One of my family members has a stutter, and I talked to him a lot about it, and it was a lot more about like the psychology behind it and about how it really stresses people with a stutter out when they feel like they're being judged. But really the thing is that if you're listening to someone with a stutter, just to listen to them and just wait and just allow them to speak.
Cool. So if you would to say, where would you rank this on like difficulty level of preparing for a play? Where would you rank this on your list?
Like an 8.
An
It was really, I mean, it was fun. It was like fun to work on it, but it was really hard.
We wanted to make sure that we weren't poking fun at anybody and that we were presenting it as accurate as possible.
Yeah.
And so I think Johan, I think you did good to make sure it was presented, as authentically as possible.
Yeah. Now, tech side, how would you say it was difficult on your scale?
I think it was really difficult to, like, I think Wonderboy's been one of the shows that are very different than all the season shows that I've been a part of, like, over, like, my years in high school. Tech-wise, it's, like I said, like, it's really insane how much work we put in, and it was just so different. Like, I don't think we really used like effects with the lighting like that before, and props was so insane for this show, in the sense of it was just so much box math we had to do and like table math, because there's a character called Rainwright, which is like the teacher who like helps Sunny throughout like the show, and like the desk she had, every single scene she had to have something she needed, because like she'd have a line about glass or a line about like moving boxes, and that was just so much like work, and I never seen like props have to put so much into like writing down what to do, like where to move certain props. It was a lot, but they did such a good job, and it worked really well.
And not to mention they built the entire Millennium Falcon
Oh,
from Legos,
yes.
and
Oh, wow.
like,
That took forever.
they had a lot. And you had a ton to call the show.
Oh my god.
So if you don't know what a stage manager is, they call the entire show, from house lights going down to every single one of the light cues, every one of the sound cues, and fog cues.
So
and all
you're
those things.
really there to like make sure, like for the like fight scenes, I guess, that it's choreographed, or well, Gaby does basically everything else almost.
Yeah, so I kind of just guide the direction, the vision of what we want. And so as we're going through and blocking out the rehearsals and different cues, Gaby and her team are making sure those cues are in place and in order. So when they call the show, she ends up taking over for me and Mrs. Morris to run the whole show and to run it as we've directed it.
Awesome. So what would be your favorite moment out of the entirety, from starting learning to the final the final showing? What was your favorite moment?
I think my favorite moment overall was when me and like my co-assistant stage manager Gabe, we like finished, like he did it. So most of the time leading up to the show, I called the show every single day, and we had to give him an opportunity to call the show so that he could learn to be a stage manager. And when the time comes, and I remember the day he did it, he was like so proud that he was able to like get all the cues, because there's one segment where we call lights like this: lights go, lights go, lights go, lights go, lights go, and like stand by, and like I'm saying like 5 cues to stand by, and it's kind of a lot. It's like a mouthful sometimes, and we use comms to communicate with like the other technicians. But I remember like the minute me and Gabe got it down, we were so like happy, because it was so much work. And I think my favorite moment like in the show that I kind of want to mention is Shakespeare coming out of the hole we had, because I remember watching the audience from up in the booth. Everyone's mouths were like open, like in shock. It was so fun.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I love the Shakespeare character. You know, the play is kind of serious. If you don't know anything about the play, it takes place in reality of the world that Sunny deals with in school. But then we also enter his brain and how he feels. So if you've ever seen the show Scrubs, it's very similar, where they go into this expressionistic take of what the protagonist sees the world as. And so we see that on stage, and it comes to life in the form of like a comic book world. And part of that world was Shakespeare, and I think he was the wildest character that we had on stage.
I think my favorite part is pretty specific, and you already talked about it a little bit. It was whenever Mac broke the stage, because what happened is there's like a side part with like a really thin piece of wood, and they stepped on it the wrong way, and it like flew out through the side, and it almost completely slapped me in the face.
Oh.
And we were trying so hard not to laugh throughout that whole thing, because it was so obvious and everybody saw it.
And Mac's monologue is like 3 pages long, so it's like 3 minutes or like 2 minutes of like just sitting and like laughing at what just happened. It was so funny.
Powered through it though, right? So that's good to hear. So, is there any obstacles? Because you talk about favorite moments. Is there any obstacles that you had or you wish you could have overcome if you didn't?
I think for me, one of the obstacles was trying to get to my emotional side, because when I act, I try to do it very inward, and like I try to get like a lot of the parts of the character for myself, and there's like a lot of parts that are very emotional that I personally haven't like gone through, that Sunny, the character, has gone through, and it was really hard to just get in character with that.
You did great, man.
You did. for me, an obstacle was like, this was like my first time really stage managing like a show myself because I've been assistant most of the time, and I was really nervous. And also having Gabe, it's like someone I have to teach. It's like almost like learning myself to like how to do this. That was really hard, but when I like started getting it down, it was more just like having to teach like most of the techs when like you're a head tech for a crew position, most of it is like you're teaching your members and like the crew people so then they can become heads and become wiser basically, because in theater like we learn so much, even just doing props or sound or anything like that, like you're learning and you can take something from it. I think from stage managing I took a lot of like leadership and like ownership and like accountability, because a lot of it just falls back on us if things don't go right, and it has helped me a lot with like confidence, and I really love it, but it was really hard to get used to.
There's a part of the play, I think for me, where the character Sonny is supposed to be swimming in a sea of letters, and he gets like overcome by the letters in his mind, right? And the way we did it is we painted, using UV paint, we painted letters on the stage, and we rented some industrial UV performance lights to make them like glow. And that was how we did the letters, but we were really limited by the venue performance space because there's no fly system in there. And if we had a fly system or something that we could hide a little better, we would have like a snow bag full of letters that we would like drop on the character. That was one limitation of our space I wish we could have overcome, but there's always challenges and working around, and luckily, y'all's team was able to, figure those things out.
The black light looked cool.
Yeah, I did go and see it at one point. I thought it looked like really good, but another one of the things is there's audiences on all three sides of you. Everyone can see the like ceiling, so it's not like
Yeah.
It's hard to hide like say to the pack where you have like curtains and everything. It's hard to hide. How do I say it? Like, not higher tech, but like it would be higher tech equipment.
Yeah, and that's part of the black box performance space. And there's professional black box performance spaces too, and they're always intimate. There's like no illusion, and it's meant to be kind of raw theater. Whereas the proscenium performance space kind of masks all of that, and it's all just like, how did they do that?
Yeah. So it's much different from like what Tuck's gonna be, because Tuck's in the pack, something that we're working on, something we're gonna talk a little about like a little later on. But Tuck's gonna be a huge, way bigger performance, a musical, correct?
Yes, it's a musical and a lot more illusion, hidden from the audience.
I think something I like about like TTC in general, it's how first off like Wonderboy and Tuck are two very different shows. And just knowing that like we have the actors and technicians who can like really diversitize their acting, like shows our strengths and like how good our shows can be. So I think it's cool that we can do so much with also not a lot of time. We don't really have a lot of time to rehearse and do all these things, but we're able to pick it up and like do it really fast, and I think it's super impressive.
Yeah.
Adding on to Gaby, I think one of the other great things about the TTC is that we all learn acting and we all learn tech. Because like in the real world, sometimes actors that are wanting to be an actor will have to do tech, and that's something that we learn here at the TTC.
Yeah. So how was the transitioning from Wonderboy to Tuck happening? How was that transition? Because I know you guys closed. We started working on Tuck a little earlier, and then you guys were still doing Wonderboy, and now you've closed, and now everything's going. All the manpower we have is going to Tuck right now. How was the transition between those?
After the first week of shows for Wonderboy, we had like a whole week of like no rehearsing for Wonderboy, and that's when we started Tuck rehearsals. And then that weekend we had our closing nights. So it's like we sandwiched Tuck with like our shows, and then now it's just full focused. So I think that week of like no rehearsals, and then we had 3 shows coming up for Wonderboy for 2 different shows was kind of hard to prepare for, honestly, because like I was focused because I'm an ensemble, like I'm on stage for Tuck, and then I was doing tech for Wonderboy, which are very different positions. So it was kind of hard for me like adjust to like, okay, I wasn't on stage, but now I will be, so I got to prepare this way. But also we're going to be backstage like in 5 days. So I think that week was kind of hard on us, but we pulled through. I think like closing night was like one of our best shows.
In part of the scenic design for Tuck for Tuck Everlasting, we were also considering the build that we did for Wonderboy, and we were trying to make sure we're centralizing our resources, and we were able to use a lot of the platforms that we used in Wonderboy for Tuck. So it kind of helps to streamline some of our build process. And then, yeah, as you mentioned before, we've got some overlap in rehearsals and performances, and we also have people switching roles completely and moving from the technical side to the performance side. So that's kind of the main logistics in shifting shows right now.
You have anything to add on, Johan?
What are you doing for Tuck?
Oh, yeah. I'm ensemble, and I'm kind of, it's like one of my first times dancing. So it's it's pretty fun to learn new things because I like learning new things. So it is a lot different from Wonderboy because Wonderboy was a lot more realism and being just like standing still, not standing still basically, and then now I have to dance and sing.
Because Tuck's more of like a magical fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
really different.
I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. We have run out of time, and
thanks.
Thanks for coming down,
Thank you.
letting me interview you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Make sure you go see the show Tuck Everlasting. I don't know if we have any dates yet or not, but when that comes out, make sure you go see the show. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.